I saw Company original cast album for the first time in my early 20s, and I remember it made a big impression on me then.
2 and 3 have the 5-mic vocal split, right?
Yes.
Documenting the music being made and watching Sondheim and George Firth.
Okay. Stand by, please.
And watching Thomas Z. Shepard work with the actors was fascinating. And then some of the late night hours of recording where everyone is smoking and miserable reminded me a bit of Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
The ladies who lunch, take 1.
I would watch the Elaine Stritch portion of this, and I was always struck by everyone having that look, that 4 a.m. tilt, when everyone's lost all of their manners.
All of their filters.
Spent your whole life saying, I'll go with you, and you rule the whole...
You bet your bottom dollar.
That's what I mean, see?
And yet, still, we're not outwardly aggressive. We still have to be passive-aggressive.
I'd love it in this key, but your voice is tired. Therefore, I want to be sure that we get, this is the permanent recording. Therefore, it's important.
I understand.
I had talked to Alex Buono and Rhys Thomas and the other collaborators at Documentary Now about doing maybe short interstitials where we would just show like a song from a parody. And Seth Meyers was really the champion of doing this as an episode. I think it was right before we had our first meeting for season 3. He remembered that I'd mentioned it in one of the meetings past, and he had the opportunity to meet Sondheim a couple times and was very interested in tackling it. So it was his enthusiasm for it that made me think it wasn't a crazy idea. It's fascinating footage to me. I think there's such casual smoking in it. Unlike anything, I think even for the 70s, that was excessive casual smoking.
5, 6, 7, 8.
When they're all recording the opening song Company, one of the actors he's in a blue blazer with a red striped tie, and he's just holding a cigarette here. And it's so unnecessary. They're all singing at full voice. There's no way he should or could take a drag. And that made me fall in love with it all the more.
For me, the music is so incredible in Company, but the style of the documentary, the way that they did it, the way that Penny was able to sort of so uniquely capture these observational moments.
You could drive a person crazy, take 10.
It is incredible to imagine that it was a one-day thing. It was happening so fast. They weren't rehearsing the songs. That he was in the moment, knew instinctually where to be and who to be on.
That was the best.
The way that he was moving the camera through the room and landing on people at the right time, it just speaks to such a incredible sense of people, and there's no narrator here. There's no voiceover telling you what to think. It's like, this is what happened.
I really admired that Pennebaker, when we reached out to him, just asked us to show a lot of respect to Elaine Stritch and not to make her a parody. And Paula, I think you played it beautifully and with gorgeous dignity.
I was gonna say, and so we failed on that one. What's the next? I was a goddamn clown.
Benedict, I've been here for 12 hours. Let me just remind you, I was supposed to sing at the beginning. I was denied that opportunity again and again. Now I have to go. So let's just do this, and I'll try to do my best.
It's remarkable, the connection that he makes with his subjects. And in this case, it was, it's a true story. They recorded this thing in 24 hours,
All right, this is the last shot on it because, we're diminishing returns. Stand by, please.
I remember him speaking the same way about Carville and about when we were doing War Room. The connection that he makes with people is so intense and so genuine.
Look, I want to do one more right away. Everybody's waiting for this on the record, and this just doesn't have the tension that it ought to have. It's just flaccid.
I have all the time in the world in prep compared to him to just do it the right way, and I can see exactly what he did, and then I still can't quite do it. I'm like watching it again, and I'm like, what? What was he doing? How did he do that? It's always it always just feels a little more alive, and a little more like in the moment. And that's what's so incredible is that, and then just instinctually, he just knew where to be because you're seeing it all. There's no trickery in editing.
Sorry.
When I first watched it, it didn't look like anything. I was too young to understand that it was anything. I was looking for an arc, I think, inherently. And then when you watch it again, you go, oh, that's the point. The point is that it's just one long day that you get to experience like them. And you end up feeling your shoulders go up. You feel all the things because it's so close. it's so in there.
I will say Pennebaker does a couple times cut. He'll make a cut that to me is like for comedy. Like there's a couple cuts that are very funny, including when Shepard is in that awful restaurant they're in where they're like, they're having like mid-afternoon beers and they're in that like wood booth.
Could I have one of those now? Terrific.
They're having a conversation about the genesis of Company, the musical, and how it came from George Frith's plays. And like a sitcom entrance, Thomas Z. Shepard walks up and he goes, "Hi, Elaine."
Looking at the schedule, and I think you should know, hi Elaine, that I think we're going to finish roughly at 4 in the morning. Everybody smile.
Do you think that cast albums had the same import that of history back then that they do now?
I think we always think that what we are recording is going to live through all time, and most often we are so disappointed. There's no way they did not think it was like the most important thing ever that they were doing.
Back then, really? You think so? Okay.
Yeah, but also
because we grew up listening to those
Yeah.
cast albums. That's the only way you knew the show if you didn't live in New York. So I think
I
think
agree.
they knew.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you recall a man named John F. Kennedy and his wife Jacqueline Richard, they would listen to the album Camelot every night. And she said that once in an interview, Richard, and that became
Drown out her tears.
Yeah, that became the name for the era. It was called the Camelot era. So I think they registered.
I have been well learned. Thank you, John.
It is interesting how it hasn't changed. That's how we do. You'd think you'd have all the time in the world to record something, but when you watch it as somebody who's done a couple, you look at it, you go, wow, it's like it's rushed for absolutely no reason. I mean, it's money. But
it's huge reason.
Yeah, right. But it hasn't changed. It makes you understand the smoking.
Yeah. But it's also it's so different now though. Like when you see how they did it back then, the orchestra and all the actors were in one big room at the same time doing everything.
And as a musician, is that easier or?
I know that's more difficult. I imagine, at least for the people recording it. But I kind of wish that that's how we still did it, because I just like the way that those records sounded.
Well, I, for one, am super glad that Elaine set the standard for having to bring somebody back in if they didn't get it right. I'll just say that out loud for my Hamilton experience.
You made that okay.
Perfect, bring them back in.
Have you heard yourself and Alex heard yourself on an album and said, I could have done better?
Everyone.
Yeah,
I don't say it. I did one.
Bounce.
I did the best I could do.
Yeah, this was just baiting you into saying it was great.
No. But I'm wondering, are you pleased with how you came out in the Hamilton album?
Actually, what's the right answer to that question? The answer is definitely yes, but we also have so much more technology to make sure that everything sounds amazing. And actually, that's what I love about the Company documentary, is that relationship that you see. It's this paternalistic kind of abusive relationship between the composer and the director and the sound engineer and these actors who are like so seethingly furious and also so utterly dependent on them to make sure it sounds good.
I almost wish that people would be as like Thomas Shepard was a little bit, to be like, it wasn't good, try again. Because it's now you get a lot of people that just don't want to hurt someone's feelings or offend somebody, so they go, "Oh, it was good. Maybe one more." When you get Thomas Shepard going, "It was trash. Try again."
The ham was beautiful, but we can do better.
I've also felt like Elaine. I'm not saying she's purposely, not doing it as well as she can, but the journey is what is so much theater and so beautiful and theatrical and dramatic, and she's really going through it with him. She's really going through I'm trying to please you, but I want to tell you to go to hell. It's so its own play in itself, and then to come in triumphant at the end. It's just she's playing out her own production.
See, I'm just proving every point. Wrong! Oh, shut up!
There are rumors that she knew exactly what she was doing and wanted to make drama in
That's why I love it so much, because I just see her in it going, ugh, God damn it. And, you know,
Right,
just where you could just see she can pull it out of her ass. She knows how to do it.
I want to go to the eye doctor now, as previously stated, you pompous beta males.
You know what's really amazing is that when she was doing it that night, I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then when she does it the next day, maybe it's because it's the version I'm used to and I've heard it 2,000 times.
Right.
But she's better.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's good at night, but you can sort of understand, like, you're watching her and it's like a performance you'd want to watch on stage. But if you just listen to it, you can understand why, as a recorded performance where you're not watching her, it's not like record worthy necessarily.
When I watched it when I was younger and then watched it again after doing this, still it's stuck in my head about enamoring me to Stephen Sondheim.
You've changed 2 notes, and I have a feeling that I haven't noticed them, and you've been doing it for weeks, which is the pickup on, they find each other,
When he fixates on like one half note,
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
she's been doing it in the show apparently a certain way, and he says, for the album, I need you to go.
Let me hear you do this. Can find
each other in the crowded streets and the guarded parks. By the
Yeah, you're doing an A there.
Oh yeah, by the rusty
It used to be an F
by the
sharp, and it's gradually become an A. Find each other in crowded streets and the guarded parks, by the rusty fountains and the dusty trees.
Okay.
What it'll do is it'll preserve that entrance when it comes down there. So try to remember that.
That just, to me, the idea that he's heard the song a zillion times, it's been running successfully, and now he's just fixated on the thing.
I also think that when you put it down on the vinyl, then somebody who's listening who has a musical ear is going to say Stephen Sondheim wanted it that way, and he didn't. And so it had to be right.
As if you had asthma,
Okay.
That's what I mean. No, you're doing it. Actually, you do it anyway, but you do it very ladylike.
Everybody's throwing things at you, you poor kid. All right, it works. Fidelity. A little hard to understand.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, you know that.
Do you remember when we were at the IFC Theater and Thomas Shepard stood up?
Yes.
That was ridiculous.
Do you remember what he said?
Yes.
Seeing the documentary and then knowing he was in the audience and then having him stand up and actually feel bad.
Oh, he said, I was wrong.
I was wrong. And an engineer's job is to support the talent, not to break them down. And he really got emotional. It was something,
He was so apologetic and said many years later that you nurture the performer. You do not take them down. And he apologized. He was a heartfelt apology for how he acted.
Okay, once more from the top. Sung, please.
What?
Sung.
I remember when I just couldn't conceive of lyrics as complicated as him, as Stephen Sondheim's, obviously. I fell well short of that. But thematically, I just tried to kind of get into songs the way I would hear he got into them. I mean, to a silly degree. I had heard him discuss writing Something's Coming from West Side Story, and that when he had the baseball metaphor, it clicked. And he wrote, one-handed catch and all those baseball metaphors that are in the song. And so with My Home Court, I just thought, well, what would be a way into this woman expressing her dreams for her apartment? And I thought, well, let's just try tennis. And then everything is, 40 Love and all comers and and a lot of tennis terms rhymed remarkably well. I was surprised by it. A frame never to Lova hanging just above the sofa made me so happy that I walked around my living room triumphant.
John, how did you know that you could do this?
I didn't.
No, I mean, it's great. I mean, had you written parody songs before, like in college, or
I'd written some at Saturday Night Live, but they were probably more topical or so one-to-one I didn't even log them as this. I will say I had a professor in college named Dr. John Glavin, who for a playwriting course, the first few weeks were rewriting Cole Porter lyrics, taking Cole Porter songs like You're the Top. He'd say, take You're the Top, and you have to be as You have to try to be as clever as he was with references from the 30s. But they can be evergreen or they can be from now. But you're taking that song and you're bringing it to the modern age. If you said you can't go hackier than him, they have to be as on point as his. So it was a really hard exercise. Those would take
those are the types of classes you fail.
Yeah,
I mean that's hard.
I mean, and Professor Glav and I, if you're watching this, I did appreciate every minute of it. But yeah, he would say like, no, this is terrible. I will say Seth turned out Holiday Party, and I maybe added a word or two, but we were going back and forth on the phone one Sunday afternoon, and he said, I'm going to take a crack at it. And I said, great, I'm still plugging in tennis metaphors to my home court. And his first draft was so phenomenal that I remember saying to him, listen, I'm going to put my name on it, but I don't think I can add anything.
If I come clean, don't start a scene. But in this moonlight, you're such a sight that it just feels right to admit I did a little bit of cocaine tonight. Do you have more?
I can get some.
As a non-musician and non-singer, and I know I'll probably be lost a little because you're discussing music and reading music, but what is it like? How would you describe a song being hard?
I'm a self-taught musician. I'm not trained. I sort of started teaching myself to play the piano when I was like 7 or 8, but I didn't really take any music theory classes until I got to college. And so Sondheim is about as complicated as it gets when you're a musical theater writer. So when I was in college, once I started learning some theory, I would check out his scores from the music library at Northwestern, where Richard Kind also attended college, and at the same time as me. And I would take songs that I wanted to learn, and I would very, very slowly, because I'm not a great reader, I would very slowly figure out how to play them. And I learned so much about music just by slowly figuring out how to play those songs. And so when I started working on this with John, I went back to some of the songs from Company. I was like, oh yes, like this is how like Ladies Who Lunch is constructed, and this is how like the opening of Company is constructed. And I still like that music is still a lot more complex than what I wrote for this, but I tried to get there as close as I could. And the music goes all sorts of places you wouldn't expect it to go. And Company is really an interesting score because it's like still sounds kind of pop for Sondheim. But then when you actually break it down, it's not.
And he works in chromatics and stuff that's not necessarily intuitive to the human ear to just get. It's sort of like you have to, it's like almost muscle memory sometimes to sing certain note to other notes. It doesn't come into like, the sort of like the regular scale feels intuitive. Do, re, mi, fa. It just feels like it just ascends. But the chromatic scale, and there's all these different ones that just do not make sense to most people's ears. And he kind of writes to that.
It's the opposite of what so much of our pop music is. It's basically, how surprised are you when you get to the end? Because we speak a certain language, all of us, especially Western, and you just know, even if you don't know where things are going. And it's the surprise that you have to learn if you're a singer trying to get there. And that's not just it's just like harmonically, it's lyrically, which was so hard about these songs to learn them. It was an interesting
difficult. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was like, hey, do you want to go do this thing? Just come over, you go to a place you've never been. It's only going to take a couple of days. It's going to be a fun hang. And it seemed, we were like terrified because.
And you get there, it's a Black Diamond Hill.
Exactly. Only because
I do love the way that all mirrored the documentary and mirrored just being in theater is just the way we all were scrambling, and then we got it together. We pulled it out.
Oh yeah.
Poor Alex had so many things to figure out just technically about how to make this work in such a short time. And one of the biggest things I was very concerned about was, where are the lyrics going to be for Brown and the Beige?
beige and the brown and the beige and the brown.
It's so funny though, because I pride myself on being really good at memorizing lyrics. So that's another thing that makes something hard, is how quick does it stick in your head?
Yeah.
And you know, and that's the way I learn any lines anyway. It's all like what's intuitive, like I just learn where something's going, and then it's just a question of what route did the writer take to get there. And certain kinds of songs scare the shit out of me. If it's not like an argument or something, if it's a list.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it's a list of a million different ways to say something, and I can't like, you know, go down like a line of what we're doing in the scene. Oh,
that's also that also speaks to how Sondheim writes. It's completely linear, and it just takes, except it has one line going this way, except what he does is take a circuitous route to get to the end. And so by the end, it makes perfect sense. But to get there, you have to take this long walk around, you know, bends and, you know, and twists. And I think that's what you, John, and Eli and Seth did really well. Is that's
absolutely
what it felt like. It didn't feel like it was just one linear song. It felt very Sondheim to go over here and then over there and back to this chorus, and it wasn't an A-B sort of structure.
Yeah, I worked very hard. I really did.
We worked our asses off, and it was challenging, and that was a difficult thing to put together and to learn and to nail. So I think we all felt triumphant, and like I've said before, talking about this experience that I loved so much, is that we kind of had a moment at the bars at night when we'd go have dinner where we're kind of like, can't we just go on the road with this? Like, can't we?
Oh, yeah.
Like, where's the van?
Well, Paula also said, she was at the bar and she looked kind of sullen. And we said, what's wrong? And she said, I just don't want to leave this era.
The moment we've all been waiting for, the last song. This is the last song of Coop.
Co-op.
Co-op, excuse me. Simon, was there anything you wanted to say?
When you lean into a rhyme, you shatter the conversational tone of the lyric. It's like nails on a blackboard to me, and I love you all.
Beautiful. All right, let's roll tape.
Jerry Herman famously got up at the Tonys when he beat Sondheim with La Cage aux Folles and said, it's nice that hummable tunes are being rewarded, or something to that effect. And Sondheim, oh, it was horrible. It was a
I remember that.
It was a horrible statement. And the funny thing about Sondheim is that Sondheim said he doesn't do a lot of reprises in his shows, and he does write these weird chromatics. And they always said, well, you don't walk out of a Sondheim show humming the tunes. But now that we've heard it over and over and over again, I didn't. I can't hum them now, but I can hum them now. I know I can. It can only go where Sondheim sent it.
Right.
And yet, still, when you have to learn a Sondheim song, it's really difficult still, even though I know it. Now, along with John, I'm musical. Like John is musical, but I'm not. No great Shakespeare musician. There are great musicians on this screen, but so you can get it. But I find it hard to learn the Sondheim song.
Oh, so hard.
I always wondered if he thought his stuff was hard for a long time, and
he knows.
Yeah, but we did a weekend of encores. We did Assassins, and he was there, and he was there for the entire time. And we were sitting in the audience watching them do the Gun song. And Victoria Clark, it's like very tight harmonies and stopped it. And Victoria Clark messed it up. And she said, fuck, I'm sorry, Stephen. Sorry, Steve. And he's from the back of the house. He goes, it's okay. It's hard.
There you go.
Yeah.
When I was doing Bounce, when we were recording it, I went to the bathroom. He happened to be in the bathroom at the same time. And I said, thank you so much for not writing harmonies for me, because I can sing and I can keep the melody line. I can't do harmonies, and I even can't do the melody if somebody's singing harmony. And shockingly, he said, I can't either. And that surprised me. He doesn't have the ear. He can write it because he's got a mathematician's mind. He's got a puzzler's mind. So he can put these things through, but he can't sing harmony. Shocked me.
Yep.
At least that's what he said in the bathroom.
Yeah.
What's said in the bathroom stays in the evidently
He
doesn't
also,
stay in the
also
bathroom.
said he was Stephen Sondheim. We don't know that.
How many channels are we recording on?
7.
So we're definitely going to need more than that.
As Eli was saying, you know, the way that Company was recorded and the way that a lot of cast albums used to be recorded is you'd be in a room with the live musicians. And I mean, we just kind of realized, like, there's no way we can do that. And part of it was we just couldn't, like, afford to pay the musicians. It's such a wonderfully low-budget show that we hired extras, but we went to, like, music schools and, like, music programs and hired extras who happened to own their own musical instruments. They could bring their, and they knew how to play them. And then we happened to give them the sheet music, and we told them, look, we're not asking you to play this. Don't play this. But just in case you're curious what the music is, and you're,
I mean,
you
if
know,
you
you're a
play
musician.
it, we'll record it, but we're not going to use it.
Yeah. And
If
they
you
all
have the budget for it. But
They
play
happen
it
to have learned the
exactly
music.
way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah. And they literally told us, they're like, well, we're professional musicians and we just hate it in like movies and TV when it looks totally fake. So yeah, we learned it. We didn't actually like record the music with them playing, but what it allowed us to do is they could fake it in the background really, really well. And then we could play the music in the room and go around and shoot inserts. And it was way more seamless than I was imagining it might be.
Yeah, Mike Petrie did an amazing job of really replicating the sound of Company.
Yes.
He did, because Jonathan Tunick did the original orchestrations, which are really, really distinctive. But Mike really did an amazing job of orchestrating Co-op and making it sound really a lot like Jonathan Tunick's original arrangements. And I remember like that first night when we were starting the vocals, I remember afterwards like sitting there with Alex and the crew, and we were like, oh, this is really difficult.
It's really hard.
I remember that.
we had to ask Renee how to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, he's gonna hate me by the end of this, but you know what?
No, we were like, Renee, tell us
It's
what are we
going to
doing
sound
wrong?
good.
I think one of the best finishing touches to Co-op in terms of it, both as in a great practical way and then in a wonderful parody way was that our musical arranger and supervisor Mike Petrie with a wig and shirt looked just like him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that was one of the happiest moments on set for me was when I saw what I thought was an extra and he turned around and it was Mike Petrie in a wig.
That was so good.
Yeah.
It was extreme wish fulfillment for me to be with this cast and sing. I mean, the theater nerd in me was living a fantasy for 2 days. It was a reality show called Theater Nerd Lives Her Fantasy.
I concur. I think it's the most fun I've ever had on the job in my life. Not just the work, but then the dinners afterwards.
Dinners.
I just had a great time doing it. I really did. I had a great time working on it, doing it, going out, every portion of it. Portland was great. It was great.
Can I tell one quick Richard Kind story from dinner?
You may tell hundreds.
There's just
I know which one it is, and it's my favorite.
I don't know if it's the one moment that sticks out in my head is we all crammed into a booth at a restaurant, and there was like 6 of us, and the booth held just about 6, and we were there. We were all fine, and we said, "Is this good?" And we said, "Yeah," and everyone agreed. And the waitress comes up, how's everybody? And Richard goes, "Is it hot over here?" And then she said, if we can move to this table, he goes, would that be okay? Yeah. And so we all shuffled back out. We went to the table, and then she came back. She goes, is everything okay? He goes, yeah. He goes, it's yeah. Do you feel a draft? And then the only other thing I remember that was consistent through the entire time we had meals is every single time we had a meal, Richard Kind would start to order, and then his menu would be upside down, and he would fix it. I've never met a real human being that wasn't a cartoon that did that.
It's crazy because before I even knew that it was out, Lin-Manuel Miranda sent me a text and it just said brown in the beige, brown in the beige, brown in the beige.
Wow.
And I was like, I knew I was right. The ultimate theater nerd loves this.
All right, come on. Let's do this thing.
Orchestra, always a cello rondo, okay? But never beyond allegro. That's no comment on all of you, obviously.
Hey, I speak Italian, capisce? Oh, you read the Times?
So you think I can't sing fast, huh? Critics.
So at Seth Meyers' office, me, Seth Meyers, and Penny are sitting there with a writer. It was a very, very fun and warm conversation. And then the writer said, now I've spoken to Sondheim, and I have a quote from him. And I really didn't know, like, Sondheim to me, I have met and is hilarious and very, very warm and kind and everything. But to me, it's also just like, saying I spoke to Michael Jordan. But so let me read it in full here. The writer, Mr. Hale, said, we arranged for Sondheim to see the episode, and I talked to him afterward, and I've got a quote here. And then Seth said, you should see how much John is leaning in. and I say, please note that we all leaned in. And so this is Mr. Hale's question to Sondheim. What did you think of Mulaney's performance? Stephen Sondheim says, it's fine. I don't have any comments on it. Everything's fine. Then Mr. Hale says, I'm going to be talking to Mulaney later this week. Sondheim says, tell him I thought he was really funny. And then I say, oh my God, oh, that's great. But I do love the first quote. It's fine. I don't have any comments on it. Everything's fine.
Didn't you say something about the songs?
No.
There's like bracketed commentary about like with no self-awareness. The lyrics are crowded.
Sondheim says with no apparent irony bracketed. Yes, you're correct, Eli. Sondheim bracketed with no apparent irony. Well, I would have to listen again. The lyrics are crowded.
I think that's a compliment.
Yeah,
I think so.
What a great compliment. Yeah.
I would have liked him to have seen a screening. Well, I would have liked him to see ours at a screening, but also I hope when when Company, the original cast album, is out on Criterion, he sees it with an audience when audiences can gather again, because I wonder if he thinks that it has the life that it has. I wouldn't know, but it could be that he doesn't perhaps know that, like, just sort of him as Stephen Sondheim and watching him work has meant so much to so many people.
Big time.
Thank you so much.
all of you.
Bye.
It was
nice to see you all.
Bye, everybody.
I missed all
Thank
of
you for
you.
doing this, everyone.
Great to see you all.
I love seeing you all. I love seeing you all.
Bye,
Boy,
guys.
oh boy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. I don't want to go. I'm not kidding. I don't want to go.
Bye, Richard.
Bye, Alex.
Great. Sensational. Wrap it up.